Hey there, Halloween passed, and, late Halloween, I guess. This video was supposed to go out, like, during that week, but I was too busy playing this game for, like, the millionth time, and going through this game for the first time. And I never beat it as a kid, but, so yeah, these two games, I'm gonna be talking about these two games today. I was gonna do separate videos of each, but it'll be a little more time consuming, and I think it'd be better just to take a couple minutes to talk about each one. Now, usually during October, you know, I do this whole thing called Spooktober, and I like partake in a whole bunch of different spooky media, you know, like movies, shows, comics, games. You know, the past couple years, it's how I started Resident Evil and all that kind of stuff. But this last month, I just didn't really do it as much until the very last month when I finally decided to play these two games during Halloween week. And I blame a certain game that took a lot of my time during October. So yeah, the video is not about this, but I'm gonna make a whole separate video just about Breath of the Wild. I also just recently finally went through that for the first time. But yeah, it's about these two. I'll just take a couple of minutes to talk about each one, how I feel about each one, and yeah, happy Halloween, I guess. I'll start with Majora's Mask. See, earlier I mentioned that I wasn't actually able to beat it as a kid, and the reason is, let me see if you can hear this. Do you hear that? I don't know if the mic is picking that up, but it's making like a lot of rattle sounds, and there's like a bunch of stuff loose in here. So this is our uncle's copy. His file is still here, and my N64 is having trouble, so I can't actually check my file in there itself, but I think I didn't really get past the second dungeon. That's where I got stuck as a kid, so since it's like all loose and stuff, it freezes all the time. So yeah, even from way back then, from like, you know, 2 decades ago. But yeah, I wasn't able to beat it because of that. But recently, I decided why not, you know, Halloween week, I recently beat Breath of the Wild, and I kind of got that Zelda itch because of it, so I decided to finally go back to my childhood game, finally beat it, and wow. What a phenomenal game. That's how I'll start. I'm just saying, yeah, I thought it was amazing. I do think, well, as of this video, I think that this is a top 10 Zelda game for me, but I do still slightly prefer Ocarina of Time. I think they're actually very relative to each other. I know that people have like big preferences between both. Some people like one but don't like the other, and vice versa. And I never really understood that, because now that I finally went through Majora's Mask, I think they complement each other quite a bit. Both are pretty, well, Ocarina of Time is a bit more straightforward adventure with like antagonists and the progression and stuff, which I kind of prefer that a bit more structurally, which is a big reason I just in general prefer a bit more Ocarina of Time. But I do think that Majora's Mask, the concept, the atmosphere, the characters, the story, the darker tone, and just the overall structure with the day system and everything, it is more unique and interesting, so I will give it that. So I think they're very comparable. I just think that the 3-day system, while it is very convenient in a lot of ways, for example, let's say that you don't want to do the whole process again of like freeing Snowhead from its everlasting winter, so you have to like do the whole process of the hot spring water, which I gotta say was a little confusing at first, but you know, that was like around the part where I left off as a kid, so it was finally great getting that over with as an adult. But yeah, like if you don't want to do that whole process again, doing all that, doing the dungeon, if you beat the dungeon, you simply can just you just have to like put the big Goron to sleep with the song you already know. You know, you don't lose the songs you learn, you don't lose the essential items that you earn. Just go in the dungeon, you can rematch the boss right there at the entrance, and there you go. So you can just clear that out. That is pretty convenient, but at the same time, it kind of counters it by doing these weird like smaller processes that you do have to do again and again and again, and it got a bit tiring for me. And they also just kind of expect you to know when and where to do some things at times, and it was a bit annoying. One of the biggest annoyances was in the ancient Ikana Castle. I don't know if I said that right, but it's in the 4th area of the game, which I found the most interesting, honestly. That's like peak area right there, like that whole thing with like the ghosts and the undead, very interesting. But that ancient castle, in order to like do this one last thing for you to like have light shine down to you so you can access the boss there, the mini boss, you needed a powder keg. I was like, I did this whole process of going through this whole mini dungeon only for a powder keg to be required at the end. Stuff like that was kind of sprinkled across the experience. So yes, while I do think the way the game is structured is very unique, it also kind of frustrated me at points, having to do some things, having to go back to get a lot of things, reset time because things didn't really go my way. So I'm kind of like, I love it, and I also kind of find it a bit frustrating, but it's very cool setup for the game though. Now, the 4 areas themselves, we have the swamp, the mountains, the ocean, and the valley. Each are very interesting locations with, again, a lot of strong characters and story beats there. With like, I love seeing the Dekus actually like having like a bit of a kingdom there, interacting with the king, and I love the butler guy. Very interesting location. I like how it really utilizes the Deku scrub, and I'll get to the masks in a second. But then you have Snowhead. I love how you use the Goron to kind of navigate through some like tough terrain and having to communicate with the Gorons. I will say the most annoying part of the whole game is that stupid crying baby. Oh my god. So I think Snowhead is probably my least favorite location because of that whole baby thing and like having to quiet him down. It's god. But I think that is the most painstaking process to get to the temple. But interesting location nonetheless. And then you have a Great Bay, which is, I think, is considered like a fan favorite. I really like it. I love swimming around as a Sora. It's so satisfying, which I think is something the 3D version butchered, if I remember correctly. But I like how there's like a mini dungeon there for you to go through the Gerudo Fortress of Pirates, which is a really cool concept. It kind of throws a bunch of things together. I'll get to that in a sec. But then the final area is it's like that whole valley of like the undead, the ones that haven't rested, the ghosts, where it basically kind of combines elements of like the Shadow Temple thing and Ocarina of Time and some deserty elements. That's what I like. Like, these 4 areas are like 4 areas only, but I feel like it combines a lot of elements from like Ocarina of Time to make like this kind of grander area. And I find that pretty unique and cool. And like I said, the masks, really cool concept. I love the masks. There's so many to collect. I think by the end of my playthrough, I had like 14 of them, but I had only done like 5 of the quests, the main side quests. Those can be a bit cryptic, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, the masks are really neat. They all do like different little effects that you can do other side quests with, or you kind of need some of them for like main story progression. And then there's like the main 3 that you use that morph you into different, like, you know, the Deku Scrub, the Goron, which is like the spirit of that Goron hero, and then the Zora musician. All really interesting characters, and I love how you embody them in appearance and abilities. Really cool concept. It's really cool to introduce like new abilities instead of using new items, because you basically use the exact same items as Ocarina of Time. The hook shot, you use a bow as a kid, but it's still a bow. You know, you use the ice, flame, light arrows, all that stuff, the lens of truth. But like then the 3 masks, they act as the new items, and they do such a superb job of using them for puzzles, progression, interactions. Really ingenious. Like, I think this whole game is honestly ingenious. The way it incorporates like most reuse. It's like it feels like an official ROM hack that is like on par with what it's based on, and sometimes even better in some aspects, because it like reuses like most of the assets, characters, and items of Ocarina of Time due to like a very short dev time. But I feel like, again, they pulled it off so well in this game. Again, some aspects I don't really like the progression a bit. The day system kind of irritates me in some ways. But besides that, yeah, really fantastic game. Again, I slightly prefer Ocarina of Time, but I now get the hype with Majora's Mask, and that whole finale with like you leading up to like going into the moon and all that stuff with the final boss. Majora is it's like a very crazy final boss, one of the wackiest. I loved it. It's so weird, so zany, and like so out of place compared to like other final bosses, and I love it for that. Very unique game. Yeah, I really love it. I would consider it, as of this video, like a top 10 Zelda game. Really cool. And who knows, if you like get back to me on it maybe a week or 2 from now, maybe I'll actually end up preferring Majora's Mask over Ocarina of Time. Oh, and big note that I forgot to say at the beginning, this is only referring to the N64 one. Overall, I still think that Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS like stomps all of them, both 64 versions and Majora's Mask 3D. So this is just referring to N64 in terms of like preference. And it's not just the masks that they use so ingeniously. It's also the items. It's the exact same items as Ocarina of Time, but they, in these like 4 dungeons, which again, I didn't even talk about the dungeons. The dungeons are great. I don't think any of them were bad. I think they kept progressively getting better and better with such new, unique ideas that combine a lot of elements from like previous dungeons and stuff from like the previous game. Instead, you have like a water / blank temple. You have a kind of a shadow combination with a spirit temple. You know, it's like it does a lot of unique stuff. Like for example, that last temple doing the whole like inverted thing of flipping the whole thing upside down, changing the way you traverse that dungeon is so cool. And light arrows, all the arrows, the fire, the ice, and the light arrows were all used in such unique ways and in tandem with a lot of the items. So even though you don't get like new items, the dungeons really complemented the item usage because I don't know, it kind of like it unleashed their potential in this game. I just wish there was more, because like there's 4 dungeons and getting to them is kind of a lengthy and tiring process, but like when you get to them, they are very satisfying to go through, and using your masks and your items. Very well designed dungeons. I just wish there was more of them. I don't know, that's just I get what the game was going for in terms of its scope. They really needed to bring it down in scope because, you know, shorter dev time, reusing assets, all that stuff, music, etc. But again, they did a phenomenal job doing that. I still wish there was just more though. I don't know. Now, my reasoning for playing this beauty for like the millionth time, I hadn't actually played it in quite a number of years, but it used to be an almost annual game, like maybe like prior to COVID. But the disc, it's pretty scratched up and it doesn't really want to load well. So hey, they added it to NSO, so I have that. I have the expansion pack, so why not? And I decided to play through it literally on Halloween day. Like I explained earlier, I took most of the week, Halloween week, to go through this, and then on the last, you know, Halloween day itself, it's when I went hard on this, and I did it like in 5 hours or something. But yeah, it was extremely fun. Okay, now I don't have as much to say about this one because it's like a whole lot, you know, the scale of this game is quite lower. Much shorter game. It's more of like a pick up and play arcadey title, but that's kind of what I really love about it. It's like it's more bite-sized. You can get through it in like, I mean, my playthrough was like 5 hours, and like that's it. And even then I only got like a C rank because I messed up quite a lot. Again, it's been a while since I've played it, but you can get through it very quickly. But that's what makes it so replayable, because it's with the money system, you know, the gold, the cash, the jewels you find, and there's like a bunch of little puzzles that you can do and secret ghosts to find to like further expand your score so you can keep getting better at it. Really adds to that perfect replayability of this game. It does it so well, and this is one of my favorite forms of replayability that there is in gaming. But yeah, it's a very beautiful game still to this day. It artistically, the tone, the atmosphere, it just hits that goofy, scary so well. Yeah, I just don't think almost any game can match, in my opinion. I love Luigi's little banter that he does when he scans things. he's so mean for no reason, but well, not no reason. I guess he does have an attitude over what happened to him and his brother. But I love exploring the mansion. I love the portrait ghosts when you read up on them, how these are like characters. You can read up on like their age, their occupation, a bit of a bio. I love the Game Boy horror. It's so cute. I love EGAD. This game is just such a treat. Again, I don't have as much to say about it, but like, I love this game to this so much. It is one of my most replayed games ever because I just keep coming back to it. I can't help myself. Like, there's not much to it, but the stuff that is there is just so enticing and just draws me in. I will also say the music is incredible all across the board, from like the training music to the just exploring the mansion regularly. I love how interactive everything is, with like you being able to vacuum a bunch of the furniture, vases, you know, all the stuff around you to make things interact. You can move this stuff yourself with your hands. Things pop out. Even though like this game's scale is so small, it still has such a big explorability aspect to it because of that. Oh, and of course the gameplay. Super addicting gameplay. It's so simple. Just point your flashlight at the ghost, suck him in. Like that's literally all there is to it. And it's so fun to do. The hectic music that plays, it's just also, I don't know, it just syncs together so well, flows so well, the gameplay. I love all the ghost designs. They're still my favorite in the series. And the one issue though, I think my biggest issue with the game, two things. One is the weird C-stick control. It is a little weird, like, because I hadn't played the game in a while, so it took me a while to adjust myself to like adjusting the flashlight and stuff with the C-stick, but it's fine. The control scheme is pretty unique for the game, and that's kind of its charm. And the bigger problem for me are the boos. They're fun at first. I love the concept of you just unleashing all the boos and stuff, and it's fun to hunt them at first. But then those last few, I mean, there was like this viral clip on Twitter or something where a guy was like, it was one of the ones in floor 3, and it had like a lot of health, and it was just him or them exiting, entering the room, just going after this ghost for like probably a couple minutes. And I got to that same ghost, and yes, it indeed did took me like 2 to 3 minutes. And yeah, though, I think that they could have limited the ghosts a little more and maybe not give us some of those high health ones, because they run off and they get lost, and I know that those boos really costed me like a B rank or an A rank because of that, because I wasted so much time chasing after them and losing coins and stuff. But I think besides those things, I really just don't have much of an issue. It's such a pretty game. It's very goofy. It's funny. The gameplay is airtight and addictive. Replayability is maxed for me. The presentation's so good. I don't know. I guess the final boss is a bit it's a bit weird. It's the same thing as Majora's Mask. Such bizarre final bosses. But like, I think I do prefer Majora as a final boss between the two, because like that Luigi's Mansion one, it's a little finicky, but yeah, it's cool. So yeah, Peak game. It's one of my favorites on the GameCube, and it's very short. If you haven't played it, I really recommend it. If you have like the Switch 2 expansion pack, give it a try. And if you want to get yourself a copy, it's not really that much anymore, I think, or at least I hope it doesn't spike back up because of the recent addition to Switch Online. But yeah, I highly recommend this one. One of my favorite GameCube games. Yeah, it's just really, really fun. And yeah, that was basically my thoughts on both games. Just quick little reviews, you know, not really anything too grand. I didn't want to make it two big separate videos, but I really love these two games so much. Now, last thing before I close, which one do I actually, you know, which one would I recommend over the other as like a Halloween game? I would say I like Luigi's Mansion more. I think this is fantastic. I just think this game's peak. So yeah, that is my final closing thoughts. You know, I would appreciate a like and subscribe. It would go a really long way. I'm trying to get to 800 before the end of the year. And also comment if you have actually played these two games. Which of the two do you like more? If you don't like one, tell me. If you hate both, tell me. You know, I'd really like to know. Anyway, happy Halloween. Late Halloween. Bye.